Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Firefighters Chalkboard. This is your host, Uncle Wayne. I want to start out by saying a shout out to the Upper Palmetto Local 5162 for my great looking hoodie I'm wearing here tonight. If anybody else is want me to represent your local, your Fools chapter, send me a sweatshirt. I promise you it will get worn and shown. Uh, so stepping up to the chalkboard tonight is Samson DeSessa. He's also known as Mufasa. The chalkboard's going to be his, and we're going to dig deep into his mind to see what we can learn from our conversation. He's a fire chief at Naval Air Station JRB in Fort Worth, and is a leadership development instructor for Texas A&M. He's also the author of an absolute awesome book that is titled Brotherhood is a Verb, Not Just Another Damn Leadership Book. And I will tell you, you need this book. You need to buy this book. You need to give this thing, fill people's stockings with this book. It is a good one. Samson, welcome to the chalkboard.
Thank you so much. I sure do appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I want to start off by saying how, I love the book. We're going to talk a lot about the book because I took so much from this book, and it goes into a lot of the stuff we talk about all the time over here, on the platform, on the podcast, everything else. And one of the things that stood out the most was you don't have chapters. They're
Right.
lessons. They're labeled as
Break them
lessons.
down by lessons.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And every one of them starts off with a quote. And, one of the quotes that stood out to me a lot was, for our own success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others.
Yeah. Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah.
Yep, Eleanor Roosevelt, absolutely. And I can relate to that a lot because when I teach, I start my day off every day with a quote. I've got the quote of the day. I've got like pages of quotes I've found everywhere, and I'll write the quote of the day. And sometimes we get tied up and get busy and trying to get things going, and you know, my students will look, hey, where's your quote? Give me till lunch. I'll get it up there or whatever. But I still make sure to give them their quote of the day. If I don't write it on the board before they get there, I'll find one I like on the paper and give it to them. But we really get inspired by quotes. They're
Absolutely.
simple little nuggets. And so when I was taking my notes, lesson 10 really stood out. And I'm a nut on learning mentorship. This podcast platform was based on instruction and leadership. That's what my thing on Facebook is. I try to make as many mentors as we can because it was something that had been dying off for so long, and now it's starting to see that turn where people are realizing it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to start preaching the gospel because the more seeds I can plant, the more trees I can grow. I might never
Yeah.
get to sit under the shade, but the trees will be there. But the one I liked, it was lesson 10. It was titled "Crutch or Chisel," and the quote for it was, "A mentor is somebody who sees more talent and ability with you than you see in yourself, and
Yes,
helps
sir.
bring it out of you." And it was from Bob Proctor.
Yep.
He was quoted with that, and that's something all of us say all the time as mentors. We find somebody we want to mentor because we see something in them they don't see in themselves. We want to bring it out of them. And a lot of times
Yeah.
as an instructor, I call it instructor crack because whenever you get that first one, the light bulb goes off, you see you're making an impact, and I want another. I want another.
Yeah.
Um,
It's addictive.
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's
It
why
really is.
watching Hacksaw Ridge, it was kind of like Devin Dawson. Give me one more. I'm gonna go after one more, save one more.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but you talked about a sergeant that started
Mhm.
mentoring you professionally in there to start off with, and that guy had a huge impact whenever you were in the Air Force. And I'd love
Yeah,
for you to
absolutely.
come and throw that guy some nuggets and give him some credit and let all of us learn
Oh,
about
I do, and I have, and I found him after years and years. That was my first base, 1991. I got there when I was 18. I mean, I went in the military when I was 17, so I was barely 17, turning 18 when I got there in 1991. And I was under some toxic leadership for quite a while. towards the end of my time there, a sergeant called Brett Wanty, he came to the installation. So he was one of our sergeants there, yeah, and just kind of came up behind me while I was giving a pump class and to a young troop, and he saw that I had the ability to take things that are somewhat complex for people and kind of simplify it. And I like to say I give people sticky things. So you talked about the quotes.
Hmm.
I like to give people things that are sticky. Now, some people confuse that with being buzzwordy. Um, Sometimes those buzzwords or sometimes those sticky things that I call them are things that just stick in your memory and they come out when you need them. You know, so this guy, he saw something in me, pulled me way out of my comfort zone. I'm an introvert, so he was like, "Hey, why don't you teach more classes around here?" You know, and you read the chapter, so you kind of get the meat and potatoes of it. But he said, "Man, you really should be teaching more class around here." I said, "No, I'm an introvert, Sarge, so that's not really my thing." And so he kind of sat there for a second. And he said, "So you're an introvert?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, what are we going to do with that? Is that going to be your crutch or your chisel?" In other words, we're going to use that. And even though that may be a fact, how can we kind of tweak that? How can we modify that? How can we grow past that? How can we still be a productive member of this department? How can we pass on that knowledge, et cetera, step outside that comfort zone? And he kind of yanked me out of my comfort zone, as a matter of fact. But yeah, he saw that potential that I did not see in myself. I thought as an introvert, I spent a lot of time kind of hiding in my room, kind of hanging out on my own. I was perfectly fine. I was a bit of a black sheep growing up, in a lot of trouble. Doc Martens and Metallica kind of dude. And I thought that I was just going to pretty much do a lot of life on my own, and I was perfectly content with that. But he took me under his wing. He started attending Toastmasters with me, and I learned to how to navigate being an introvert and still spending time teaching people and such. And what I learned was that the introversion doesn't mean that I can't be around people. It just means that my battery drains faster is all it really means. So I have to be aware of that and just learn how to navigate those waters. And, you brought up the mentorship thing. So to me, we have to clearly define what is leadership. And that's so difficult to do because you can get on 100 different websites, podcasts, grab 100 different books on leadership. They're all going to give you a somewhat different definition. They'll be similar, but they're all somewhat different as well. Mine, again, I like things to be sticky, have it make sense, be simple. And mine is the growing of leaders. So it's the growing of people and growing of leaders, right? So leadership is the growing of leaders. Ultimately, the goal is for everyone to recognize that in some walk of life, they are a leader. And so we need to step into those roles. And as a leader, then my job is to make more leaders, not to make followers. Um, that's manipulation. Like if I just want people following me around, tell me how great I am, doing the things I tell them to do, that's micromanagement, it's manipulation, it's dull. You don't get near as much done. I'm not looking for compliance, I'm looking for buy-in.
Yeah.
So I want to grow my people and teach them that they can do these kind of things. I don't want to solve other problems. I want to show them how to solve problems and then untie their hands and let them go about solving their own problems and other people's problems and then growing more leaders. And then the leaders make more leaders. And I put myself out of a job so that I don't have to be at the fire station every day. I could go to meetings and not worry about what's going on at the house because I know I have people that are handling it. So that mentorship starts with friendship.
Hmm.
Kind of my contention. Real leadership is the growing of leaders, and mentorship is where actual leadership happens. Now, we can go to university, we can go to college, we can attend certification courses, and I teach for Texas A&M, like I said, so you can take Officer 1 through 4 with me or some of those command classes, and I'll give you some good stuff. And you'll leave out of there with some great nuggets, and I hope to make you a better leader. However, I don't know how to make Wayne a fantastic leader. I don't know how to mentor Wayne in a 1 week class.
Yeah.
So I have to spend time with Wayne. I have to spend time getting to know you. I have to spend time knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, which are what energizes you and drains you. And then I need to know what you're good at and more bad at. And I need to build my teams accordingly. And So I have to spend time with you to get to know you, to know where to give you that granular information on where you need to grow, where you need to improve, where your areas of improvement are, what things we need to probably avoid because you're just never going to get better at certain things that are weaknesses or that you're just bad at. That's just a fact. And we have to acknowledge those things. You're not going to take that from some instructor from a classroom for 5 days. You're
No,
going to take that from somebody who invests in you.
there you go.
So I spend that time becoming your friend, and you know, then we connect before I correct, and then you'll trust me, and that trust gives me influence. Now I can tell Wayne the tough stuff. Wayne, you're not really great when it comes to whatever, Man, Wayne, you're far more productive in the
Introvert
morning.
or whatever. I'm sure it's right. Um,
But you get the point, right? So
absolutely.
if I come in hot and I just try and correct Wayne and tell Wayne what he needs to work on, but I haven't invested in Wayne, then I'm correcting before I connect. Then the message is not going to land the same way. I have not taken the time to earn your trust, so I really don't have the influence to do that. So all I'm going to do in that case is just piss you off.
Yeah. And a grown man ain't going to listen to somebody that's making him mad. You're done. He's not,
No,
I mean,
that's
but,
it.
you know, and I like the way you started off with that because I've got a really strong belief on my side is mentorship is the foundational building block of leadership in
Yeah,
my thoughts. And
that's a good way to put it.
the fire instructor, I don't teach firemen. I give them building blocks for them to go in the street and learn the job from everybody else. It's truly what I do.
Right.
Give them enough to be dangerous, but hopefully instill the passion in them where they want to learn and drive and be better. But with that, the friendship part in a true lifelong mentorship, yes, the friendship is built. Now, what do you think about the difference in somebody that's not going to have those years of time to build that friendship, but still be a good mentor to help steer somebody the right way for them to get somewhere else or what to look for?
Yeah, so there are different levels of mentorship, right? So primarily I'm focusing on leaders in my own department. So I've got time with them, et cetera. And there certainly are mentor coaches and those kind of people that you can pay to mentor you. But I think really at the end of the day, they're just instructing you. Unless they're coming in and working on projects with you, then they really are just giving you pointers and they're not incredibly specific to you or I. They are in generalities of what will work well for you. It's like reading a book, a leadership book. And a lot of times that leadership book isn't giving you anything granular unless they're getting very authentic and sharing some of those vulnerabilities, which is what I tried to do in mine.
Mhm.
But um, at the end of the day, to grow Wayne, I have to know Wayne specifically.
Yeah,
I can't write a book to specifically at a granular level help Wayne because I don't know Wayne. I don't know how Wayne works. But hopefully, by hitting some of the lessons that I've learned, maybe I hit some nerve or something along the way that'll help Wayne help someone else or help himself, etc.
yeah. I do that with my students or try to. Um, I've got them for 15 weeks. And that's all. That's the only time I've got them. And I've got a lot of information to pour into them in that short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as much as friendship is letting them know my goal is to see you be successful.
So if you're
And
pulling them aside one on one in 15 weeks and you're actually spending some quality time, if you will, with them, then yeah, you're probably providing them mentorship like that. But if you're talking to the group, the crowd, and you're just giving them instruction throughout the week, then you're instructing or you're
yeah,
coaching more than mentorship.
yeah.
Mentorship, again, to me, mentorship is one on one. It's the
Oh,
under the wing stuff.
oh
You
yeah.
know,
And because like, or prime example, my biggest mentor was my first boss from 25 years ago. And, we still talk once a week, have lunch together once a month,
yeah,
and he's retired, he's moved on, but he's still, look at this, think about this, teach the kids this. And, we,
yeah,
even with my capacity as an instructor, and if I've got a class of 30 students at a time, you still find one or two that you're like, that one. That's the one I'm adding him to the list. And
Yeah.
because all of them, the majority of all of our students, they try really hard. They want to learn. They want to be successful because they're there for a reason. They want to make a difference. But you've still got the ones that are standoutish, and you see the potential in the ones that can really be great, and you gravitate yourself to them to help them
Yeah.
achieve that. And
They earn it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it means a lot to them whenever they have somebody approach them and try to start helping them, and it makes them hungry. And even if they are introverts, it helps them learn to be an extrovert, to go out to, I see this mindset, this work ethic. That's how I want to be, and it makes them to where they'll gravitate more to them. I really like what I see with this. Can you help me become? To I'm not going to become you, but I want to
Sure.
work like you. Can you help me understand why you do what you do and stuff? And I
Yeah.
think when I say plant the seed, that's what I try to do a lot, is to try to get them to where they can find their mentor. Because a lot of times, we all know in the fire service, we get a probie in. We're going to run them through the paces, get them through their probie time. Because a lot of times we get a new guy, he might not stay at the station with us the whole time. They might be there for 6 months, and they get a new assignment or something, getting them through their probie packets. But to have a probie come up to you and say, "Help me, because I want to do just like you do," that that mindset doesn't come just as a person. They're conditioned to that, and there's very few of them that have that mindset. And when you find those that come in, that's that little golden fiddle sitting off to the side you want to grab, and we're going to keep you here. We're not going to let you leave.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's humility.
Mm-hmm.
And the average person is more concerned with self first and foremost. So um, they're trying to look tough. They're trying to alpha male. They're trying to, be the big dog, all that kind of stuff. So it's the ones that come forward, they're vulnerable, and they're like, hey, I need a hand with this. Or, hey, I really like what you're doing. And instead of me trying to be the LeBron James of the team, or whatever, and be the superstar or whatever, while I crap on everybody else, you see these people that are humble enough to say, hey, I want to be a better teammate, and so will you help me to get there? I see what you're doing, you're making an impact as an instructor, man, I want to do that someday. Show me how to do what you're doing.
Yeah, I like the way you said LeBron, but since we're talking about basketball, I'm going to go a little deeper. I'm going to go with John Wooden, one of the
Love
most
John Wood.
successful coaches of all time. And what did you see him doing in the middle of the week? Sweeping his own gym floor.
Right.
And
Yeah, modeling it.
yeah, modeling excellence. And one thing that I do with my students, I play 2 videos for my students in class. We run at 15-week recruit school. Well, they're with me for 15 weeks, and they're in EMT school for 15 weeks. But one of the first ones I send them is they watch Admiral McRaven
Mm.
do his commencement speech for the University of
Yep.
Texas. Sorry, I know
Right.
you're a young guy. Uh,
Yeah. Him doing that the whole time.
that's okay. I know he was from Charleston at one time too, so we can say go Gamecocks. Um,
I was stationed in Charleston for 3 years. So
uh, but you know, Admiral McRaven had so many things of the ways to inspire people in that speech if you really listen to it. And
yeah.
to me, he was a great leader, a great mentor. And I'll throw one more further is Dr. Rick Rigsby. He is the second speech that I play for my recruits, and I do it right before they go to graduate and leave, because his commencement speech from California Maritime Academy, where he gave the speech that was based on the book he wrote that was called Lessons Learned from a Third Grade Dropout, which was his father. And he talks about making sure you have a huge servant towel and making sure it is used. As a leader, you are a servant to the people under you, and making sure you work for them real hard. And it said, correlates with some of the stuff in your book. Anything, how you do anything is how you do everything. He spoke on that a lot, and One of the things he said was, as people inspire, he said, I don't have a problem if you aim high and miss, but I have a problem if you aim low and hit. And
Yeah.
those are true words of somebody that is mentoring and trying to inspire somebody to do things. And a lot of times that's what we do as instructors, chief officers, line officers. We take those younger people and we try to inspire them. And when I was talking about Coach Wooden, that was one of the things Dr. Rigsby talked about in his speech, was talking about, with all the championships that they won, you still seen this coach in the middle of the week pushing a broom. He was
Right.
never above sweeping his own gym floor. And
Yeah.
he said, if you want to make an impact, find your broom. And I truly, that you talking about that sticky, that has stuck with me ever since I
Yeah.
heard him say it to start off with. If you want to make an impact, find your broom. Find a way to model excellence.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. That's, as you know, it was in the book as well, my book there, that my father would go out and shovel snow in the wintertime in Germany, shovel the sidewalk for his people so that when they got to work, they were parking and they were going inside, he's already shoveled, 2, 3 feet of snow off that sidewalk, and had me involved with doing that as well. And the whole time, you know, he's modeling servant leadership, and he wasn't talking about it until I vented finally about it, griped and bitched about it. But shy of that, he was just doing it because one of the things I learned from that is that people follow your feet more than your words.
mhm,
You can talk all kind of things about leadership. You can talk about mentorship. You can talk about modeling, but modeling is different than talking about modeling.
absolutely.
So
Good. I mean, once you get people to drink your Kool Aid because they see that you drinking Kool Aid and you like it, I mean, they don't care what flavor they had before; they want the flavor you got. Um, because we are we are people that want to be inspired, and our young people want to be inspired. So, with our and in your current position and where I'm at and you're at, we look at the same things. We just look at it complete on different sides of the spectrum. And how much of a difference do you see mentorship now with our younger people versus when we come into fire service? Because we got into it, really
yeah,
closely to the same amount of time.
yeah.
So, what do you think's changed in the last 10 years?
So I think that when I came in, so when I came in, of course, it was military, and the fire department is paramilitaristic. So a lot of the same similar concepts, rank structure, et cetera, all came from Civil War era rank structure and all that kind of thing. So we understand our hierarchy, we understand the command system because it mirrors what a military type rank structure. I think that when we came in, there was still bullying, there was still
Yeah.
hazing. Uh, we had a specialized stall floor that was built to house a aircraft rescue firefighting vehicle that was huge. So it had to have a specially built stall. And we weren't even using that truck anymore, but the stall was still there. And a lot of gym equipment was back there, this and that. They used to hang boxing gloves back there. And so if two people weren't getting along, everybody would go back to that stall and watch these guys duke it out. Obviously, doesn't happen in the workforce nowadays. Um, Very old school. In our fire station on the second deck, they had a mezzanine area that looked out over the stalls, and they were smoking up there. All the chiefs would go up there, smoke and drink coffee, and it was a very, very different time for so many different reasons. And I think I also arrived at that base when they were just having a lot of problems and things. So for me, an introvert, I just kind of flew under the radar. I did my minimum amount of work, went to my room, pretty much stayed away from everybody for the most part. So they weren't really getting to know me. I wasn't getting to know them, and it was not the same kind of person I am now. Not the same mentality I have now. But then again, I wasn't getting any leadership, wasn't getting any mentorship, and I think that they didn't. I think that those kind of concepts really weren't being pushed at the time, and so I think over the last 10 years, you had people like Simon Sinek, um, Jocko.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go a little crazy here and talk about Brené Brown. That's not somebody that's super familiar with a lot of, a lot of firemen aren't probably super familiar with, but she does a fantastic TED talk about being a leader and being vulnerable and just putting it out there. And so I think that those different types of leaders leading differently and us recognizing that we don't need to mimic one specific leader out there. Don't try and be Admiral McRaven. Take a little bit of him. Take a little bit from Jocko. Take a little from Simon Sinek. We don't always have to only be listening to Salka and Lasky and Bernasini. And I love all those guys. Read their shit. 100% go read it. However, remember too, there's other leaders out there that can give us some really good sticky points and things that we can pull from. And all of those things make us better leaders. And it's just a matter of finding what's authentic to you, what works well for you. And so, yeah, we have to mimic a little bit from each of these different people at first because we don't have our own style yet as newer leaders. So, but I think that going back those 10 years, like you asked about, I think Simon Sinek, Find Your Why came on the scene, and that was a huge one. Yeah, the Atomic Habits, The Slight Edge.
Atomic Habits is great. That was a great book.
Atomic Habits is awesome. I actually kind of preferred The Slight Edge. If you haven't read that one yet, it's a really good one. Very, very similar concept, just slightly different take on it. So it's whichever one you like. It's kind of like Turn the Ship Around and It's Your Ship. Both great books, Dave Marquette or Admiral Abishoff, whichever one you want to go with. But very similar concepts, but still have their own take on it. Again, just don't try and back in the day, I remember I had a guy that had read The 1 Minute Manager. And so he was running all over the station and basically having these very unauthentic conversations where he'd be talking with you and you'd see him constantly looking down at his watch. It was like, what are you doing? So finally I asked him, I said, hey man, what's with the watch thing? Why are you constantly, I read this fantastic book, it's 1 Minute Manager, and I'm trying to give you guys each 1 minute. And I said, yeah, I don't think it was to be literal. I think it was more like a general, like it only takes about a minute. I don't think it's like, and your time's up kind of situation. So, he would just cut those conversations off too, Wayne. It'd just, and he'd be all plugged in. He seemed like he's really listening to you. And then he'd be like, all right, man, well, and you're like, well, oh, we're done? Okay, I was still talking, but okay, later, bro. Yeah.
I love how you have said it multiple times, and I think it's one of the biggest things that's changed is vulnerability. When we started, the captain was the captain. You did what the captain said. It's because I said so. You didn't ask any questions, whatever.
Yes.
But now our people respond to knowing that their leaders are real people. They have, and how can we be understanding with our people if we're not empathetic? And how can we show them we're empathetic if they don't know we're vulnerable and have stuff too? We have life problems too and everything else, and it makes it where we're more understanding. And I think the hard asses of 30 years ago have gone away. And I'm not saying that a little bit of salt's not good, because I like salt on my meat,
Sure.
But they've got to know we're real. We understand. We live like they do, and we can set the example. And I think when we show people that vulnerability, it makes them tune in to us more. We're not trying to sit on top of the podium.
Yeah. Untouchable, right? Where it's an unattainable thing. You're just this perfect dude or lady and up in your office. And, if people just see you as this pristine, polished version of who you are now, if they don't see what the hell it took to break off all the rough and superfluous edges and turn you into what you are, crutch versus chisel, you chiseled yourself into this person, but how'd you get there? So I think the important distinction is this, though, Wayne. I've had a leader that I worked for that had read a lot about vulnerability and had become very, very vulnerable and would always share what they were going through. And I learned through this person that I think what resonates better with people is to know that I have been through a bunch of shit.
Okay. Yeah.
But not that I'm currently going through a bunch of shit. So I do think it's an important distinction. So if I was constantly telling you, "Hey, man, I'm going through this, I'm going through that," man, it's so rough on me, and you're one of the people who works for me. Well,
They're
if
going
I
to call
seem
EAP
polished
for
to
you.
you, what's that?
They're going to call EAP for you instead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and at the same time too, how can I help you out of the trench if I'm in the freaking trench?
Yeah.
And why would you, Wayne, want to come to me and be like, Sam, hey, I'm going through a bunch of shit? If I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm going through a bunch of shit too. Well, it sounds like I'm trying to one up you. And then also, if you know I'm going through a bunch of stuff and maybe you're dealing with some mental health stuff, well, one of the things that because I struggle with that myself, is we feel like a burden. So if I'm coming to you and I really need your help because I'm really kind of struggling right now, but I feel like you're already burdened, am I gonna double burden you with my crap?
Yeah.
Nope. So I think the important distinction is, hey guys, I have been through a bunch of stuff. Hey, I have been through what you're going through. Well, let me tell you how I got out of that. Let me tell you what I did to where I'm not in that place anymore. That's the important distinction. What you're going through right now, and I know there's 100 books that'll tell you something different. So I'm only giving you Sam's opinion. I don't think I need to vent to my people about what I'm currently going through. I think that you need to go outside the department. You need to go to a mentor. That I always have a mentor, and I am a mentor. I talk about it in the book. You already know that. But for those who haven't, at all times, I am a mentor to somebody, and I have a mentor. It keeps me humble, but it also keeps me current, and it makes me study and learn. And my whole book is literally written because the former fire chief is still a friend of mine, and he challenged me to write that book. And so I did it. And that's humility, because there were times going through it, I was like, what the flip am I doing this for? Nobody's going to want this thing, and I'm wasting so much time on it. And it's not a cash grab. It's just I wanted to share these lessons with people, but they don't care. Most people don't care. But then the feedback from it has been amazing. And had he not encouraged me along the way, now just, you're doing good, man. He sent me the manuscript. It looks really good. I really think that this is going to resonate with people. I like the sound of your voice in it. I've worked with you. This thing sounds like a conversation with you. It's really
Yeah.
good. And I've had people that I had read it kind of along the way that encouraged me in that way. I have a propensity for negative talk. I share that in there. And so I could talk myself out of things. I try and be more growth mindset, so I don't get fixed mindset and back out of challenging things. I try and keep pushing. And so it was birthed from there.
I like it. You can find optimism in anything. Um, and that is a driving force to help us keep moving forward. And when I was talking about the vulnerability, I wasn't talking about pouring your heart out every day about everything that's going on. I still try to keep
Oh,
myself.
I didn't take it that way.
No, I try to keep myself in the mindset. I use movies a lot when I teach because it's something people can relate to, and I try to pull a life
Yeah,
lesson from a movie into what we're doing. And I use whenever Tom Hanks was in Save It Private Ryan, he was telling them, you know, I can't gripe to you. My gripes have got to go up. That's how the chain
yeah,
of
vent.
command works.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I I try to my gripes go up, my problems go up, into the people I can
yeah,
confide with that are my same rank or might be a fireman that I've known for 20 years, but they're not the people I'm trying to mentor myself. Kind of like you're saying, I'm
right.
going to
Yeah,
somebody else, but us being vulnerable enough to those people allows us to be empathetic with the people we are in charge of because we have been there, we
right.
have been through stuff, and I think that we're correlating with those thoughts.
Yeah, and I didn't take it that that's how you were saying it. For me, like I said, I had someone over my head that was constantly, um, I don't want to say burdening me because it didn't really feel that way, but it was pretty often. And I just remember thinking to myself, well, how the hell are you going to help me out of the pit if I'm trying to help you out of the pit? So I learned through that. You learn from your good leaders, you learn from your bad leaders, and not
Sure.
saying he was necessarily a bad leader, but point being, I learned a lesson from that, which was I don't want to do that to the people who I'm charged with helping through these things. So, but again, that's why I always have a mentor, somebody that I can go to. I have 3 mentors, and I'm mentoring 5. And again, like I said, it's just kind of keeps you humble, keeps you grounded, and our goal is to make more leaders. So mentorship obviously is the way to go about it. But
Oh,
the vulnerability, I think it's a big thing. I think that's something that we have all started to learn a lot more over the last 10 years. You asked about that. So I think PTSD started coming out about 10 years ago, right? So
Yeah.
awareness of, obviously PTSD goes back way further, but yeah, the awareness of it in the fire service about probably 10 years ago or so, and started eking its way into our fire departments. And I think at that point, we started identifying how many firefighters, first responders, military personnel are taking their own lives. And once we kind of started seeing an awareness of having that awareness of, geez, like this is a huge number. This is something that a lot of us are sharing. And if you don't go through that, if you don't struggle with depression, if you don't struggle with anxiety, if you don't struggle with these things, they're foreign to you. But at the same time, when you see your brothers and sisters battling these demons, you can still have a heart for them. Obviously, you don't necessarily always have to go through it yourself to resonate with someone who's been through those things or is going through them. And so I think the awareness of that changed for many of us, and therefore it kind of made it okay to share some of those stories of, hey, I've actually been there myself. Then people see more and more leaders being brave enough to be vulnerable, because I got to tell you, that takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to enter a burning building. It takes courage to approach a scene under gunfire. There's a lot of things that we do and that law enforcement does, et cetera, that is absolutely courageous in what we do. But I got to tell you, one of the most courageous things I ever done is let my shield down.
Yeah. You
So,
spend your whole life building that wall around you, and then whenever you finally do let it open for others to see,
yeah,
it has a huge impact. And a lot of times, it took me a long time to realize when I finally let mine down how much of an impact them just seeing, they're like, holy crap, this guy went through it too. This is why he says he understands. He might
yes,
talk to me a little bit of a different way about a certain situation versus another one because he might have been through it. And it's,
yeah.
it's human. Be human.
It makes you more approachable.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the difference in between the ones that people can go up to talk to when they do have an issue or a problem, a thought, a in a way they want to go, a goal, something like that. They see what they want in that person and then gravitate to them because they hope that that person would be empathetic with whatever it is, and to help them along their way. Because both of us know, and I've said it 100 times on this podcast and everywhere, and I'll probably say it another 1,000 before I finish up, but nobody does it by themselves. And
no,
anybody that ever tells you they did, quit listening to that guy because he's feeding you a line of crap.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Firefighting is a team sport.
yeah, there is a I in team. It's in the middle of the a hole. Um, I write that one on the board sometimes too.
That's funny. I like that one.
Yeah, you write them in block letters and see what's in the middle of the A.
No.
Um, so I'm gonna pull one more out of here.
Okay.
This one's gonna be good, and I got a feeling we're gonna have a ton of talking on this one because one thing that you put in here was about the expectations, and the true thing about a mentor is giving your mentee the expectations you expect from them. I'm gonna help you everything I can. I'm gonna give you 110% of me as long as you give me 100% of you, right?
Yeah.
So in the very back of the book, it comes up and it's talking about expectations that you've done with your guys. And it was called the 360-degree expectations. And it says we're all expected to follow them daily, from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top. The expectation is for each of us, regardless of our rank, to call out anyone not rising to the level of our shared standards. And a lot of that could be the true thing of brotherhood, being the person. And I wrote an article that just published in Firefighter Nation this week, and it talks about the strength of a circle of friendship. The people that keep you standing whenever you're weary, the people to give you the gut checks when you need it, the people to hold you accountable, and we really
Yeah.
need that. And this right here kind of comes up to it, and I just got a good chuckle out of it because this is stuff from the old day, but still works really good right now. as far as us holding each other's up to the standards. And, number one was don't be an ass. You know, treat others how they want to be treated. We build relationship capital because the people we build into are the people we always have relationships with. We have to build that capital. Friendships and
Yeah.
brotherhood does not just happen. It has to be built.
No.
Kind of like any relationship. It is what you work at it, make it, right? It says how we present
Yes.
ourselves matters. Be trustworthy. It takes years to build and seconds to destroy. Be approachable, available, and relatable for others. Number two is give a shit. You should care what others think of you. You represent the sum of us. It
Mm-hmm.
says, kind of like, and it's verbatim for what, Rigsby said. How we do anything is how we do everything. And that is a very true statement. I've heard my father say that for years and years.
It's
And,
old wisdom.
oh, yeah. And it says, you can't be a rebel and a ruler, and you can't be a fool and a king. So, you have to pick your battle and stick with your battle.
Well, you
Number
have a lot of people that act like a dipshit and can't figure out why they can't get promoted. Or you
Yeah.
have the guy that's always arguing with management, but yet doesn't understand why he can't get promoted. Always arguing with lieutenants, et cetera. You get the concept, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
number three, it says, step up. Don't be a problem finder, be a problem solver. Find needs and fill needs. It says if you have the ability, you have the responsibility. Okay. Uh, I love that one because it's kind of like what we tell people when they're learning on the train. We get in the drill yard, we're pulling lines and everything else. Never walk past the kink toes line. And that's the first thing we always try to teach them the motion. Never walk past that kink toes line.
Yep.
You can use that
Yep.
analogy for anything in life. Don't walk past it.
100%.
Fix it.
Yeah. That's what General Schwarzkopf said. I never walk past a problem. And that resonated with me. But lesson number 5 from the book, the quote is directly from my father. And it's, if you have the ability to help others, you have the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've obviously that's been drilled into me since I was a wee little lad. So carried that into life and tried to share it as much as possible.
Yeah. And the last bullet point for that one says take ownership. Personally hold yourself accountable for our expectations every day. 3
Yeah.
really simple expectations of what we're going to do as a crew. And that could be, us talking about building mentorships and brotherhood and everything else. That's 3 things we could live by really easy and make a huge difference in a junior person's life.
So they're sticky, right? You can memorize those.
Oh,
Don't be
yeah.
an asshole, give a shit, and step up. They're very simple. And as you can imagine, I have it on a big canvas in our kitchen and in the fire station, and it's up in our conference room right up here, and on a canvas. And so it's in their faces. And the guys, when I made the canvases, I was like, where do you want to put these? Training room or whatever? And they're like, no, the kitchen. And they went and put it up in the kitchen, which was pretty cool. But yeah, so I had a guy one time, firefighter, came up, and I had an interaction with somebody from outside the department. And this firefighter was sitting there while I had the interaction. And the person came in kind of hot, and they were complaining about something about one of my guys in the department, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And I was curt in my response. I wasn't really an ass, but I was definitely curt in my response. And anyways, we finished up our business. The guy left, and the firefighter said, "Hey, Chief," said, I'm a little embarrassed about this, but this guy's sitting at the kitchen table eating. He's like, "Chief," and I could tell he was a little timid. He didn't want to tell me something. I said, "What's on your mind?" And he said, "I kind of feel like you might have been violating, expectation number 1. You're a little bit of an ass to that guy." I said, "You think so?" And he said, "Yeah." Thought about it, and I was like, "You know what? You're right. I'm having kind of having a pissy day, and it's probably time for me to go home. So I'm gonna take leave and I'm gonna go home." And because it's hard to not be an asshole and to give a shit and to step up when you're in a bad mood, and I'm in a bad mood. So I said, "Man, I appreciate so much you doing that." Now I've bought my own coins, and you kind of see that in the back of the book. I have a little Mufasa coin and whatnot. And challenge coins kind of a big deal for some people, and we have to pay for them ourselves. So
Mhm.
I don't hand them out like hotcakes. But when somebody earns one, then I put it in their hand. And so I went up and got one, and I gave it to that guy. And I said, "Man, I appreciate so much that you took this seriously enough to call me on the carpet." And that's what they are. They're 360-degree expectations, top to the bottom, bottom to the top. I will skip every single rank if I see one of my firefighters violating one of the three of those, and I'll go directly to that individual. But there was a firefighter. You could tell he didn't really want to do it, but at the same time, he did it. And I said, "Man, that's exactly the culture I want. If you
Yeah,
see me violating any of the three of those, you step up, you come over, you let me know." And he did it, and that was pretty damn cool. In my mind's eye, that was a leadership win.
absolutely. Because the expectations you had for all your people stuck to the lowest level person, and he wanted to hold you to the standard
Yeah,
that you
and he
wanted for
should,
everybody else.
and he
Absolutely.
should. And I told him, I said, "I'm gonna take leave. I'm gonna go home," because if somebody's having a really crappy day, they've got domestic spillover. Like you're arguing with your wife and you bring it to work. You're arguing with your partner at home, you bring it to work. Uh, Take it out on the rest of us. Take it out on the community, the citizens. That's not the right thing to do. I'd rather you just take the day off. We'll figure out the leave and all that kind of stuff later. If today is just not a day that you can be yourself here, we know who you are most of the time, 80% or more. We know who you are. And so if you can't be that person for us, then I'd rather you just go ahead and stay home for the day.
Yeah. And I love the
So,
fact that you said that 80% of the time we know who you are, and
yeah,
you do that by spending time and, just like you said in the very beginning, investing in those people.
right.
Yeah.
That's where that relationship capital comes in. So
Yeah.
people talk a lot about leadership capital, but they don't talk about how you get to that leadership capital. So for me, you invest the relationship capital first. And then through the relationship capital, I earn that trust with you. That trust buys me the influence. The influence gets me the buy-in. I can lead from my rank all day long, but that's only going to get me compliance. If I lead from buy-in and I have that influence, or if I lead from the influence rather that I've earned through trust, then I've got buy-in. And people will do much more for your organization, for your citizens, for each other, and for you as a leader if you're not leading from your rank, if you're leading because you've earned it. You've invested that relationship capital with them over the years. And then if you have to do a debit, in other words, I call that where maybe I have to do a correction. Maybe I have to correct somebody because they're having a crappy day and I got to send them home. Or, I recommend that they go home or, whatever, something like that. If I have to make a little debit, if I have to choose somebody out, I'm taking a little swipe out of that account, right? That relationship account. But if I've been investing and I have to make a withdrawal, I'm not going in the red. I'm still in the black. So
And building that relationship, and just like you said, they know you're doing it because you've got to, because
that's
they
it.
need that reset, they need that
And
check, and that goes back into the whole circle thing. You know, nobody likes it when you get a gut check, but sometimes I'll be the first one. Sometimes I need somebody to knock me back and say, "Take a breath."
yeah, yeah, we all do.
Yeah,
That's the reality. We
you're
all
better.
do.
You're
And
better.
if
Yeah,
we're
take a breath.
lucky, we've got people that'll call us on it.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, it's like you said earlier, having those conversations nobody wants to have, but the ones that have to happen in order. If you have those conversations, you truly do care about the person you're talking to. Because if you didn't care about them, you wouldn't say anything. You just let them go on and
Yeah,
crash and burn.
right.
Yeah, love it. I absolutely
100%.
love it. So, Chief, this is where I'm going to give you the chalkboard.
Okay.
So, whenever I say that, see, because I know you gave me the primer on it. So the chalkboard is going to be yours. Write whatever message you want on it. It's going to be here for eternity. Drop somebody some nuggets for them to grow on.
So if I was going to write on the chalkboard, I think I would probably go with our department's expectations. Don't be an asshole, give a shit, step up, the things like we talked about. I'd probably write up there that, brotherhood's a verb. I mean, I put it on the title of the book. If you don't read anything else, read the freaking title because it speaks so much about the fact that brotherhood demands action. Like we can put the tattoos on our arms, we can put the stickers on the helmet, we can put them on our trucks, we can do all that kind of crap. Brotherhood's a cool word, but it doesn't mean shit if you're not stepping up and doing brotherhood. So brotherhood demands action. Brotherhood's a verb. We have to do that. And of course, if you have the ability, you have the responsibility. So those are the things I would put up there, right? Directly from my dad, ever since I was a wee little lad. If you have the ability to help other people, you have the responsibility. So you have to make yourself able because you do have the responsibility, especially as leaders. So there's some duality to it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability to help others, then you have the responsibility. But at the same time, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're paid, you've accepted this role as a firefighter, so you do have the ability. You do have the responsibility, which means you better step up and have the ability to do what you're expected to do. That's what the citizens want and expect of us. That's what they need of us.
I like that a lot. That goes into the aspects of being revered as the people that founded our profession. I really like that.
Yeah, shoulders we're standing on, the very fabric from which we're cut.
Yep, absolutely. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to us this episode of the Chalkboard. Chief Sam DeSessa, otherwise aka Mufasa. Check out his book, Brotherhood is a Verb. It's available on Amazon. I'm telling you, it's definitely worth your time to read. And if you read it, you'll pass that on there to some other people. Some great nuggets. If you got anybody you want to listen to us talk to, shoot me a DM, send me a message, carrier pigeon, however it goes. I'll try to hunt them down. We're getting close to Christmas. Be sure to check out Firefighter Nation. There's some really good articles in there that's popped up lately. There's look at my latest one, guys. The Circle that Keeps You Standing. It's a really good article. It's got a lot to do with what we were talking about tonight, and having that group of people to support you and help you be better. Is if you can get one mentor, five's even better. And just because they're mentoring you, don't mean they have to be a chief if you're a captain. Just reach out to people so we can make each other better. Until next time, guys, stay safe, keep learning, and we'll see you the next time somebody steps up to the chalkboard.